Hello, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. In this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different and I'm going to bring in some of my psychology background and we're going to talk about attachment styles. And so in this video, it's titled How to Cope with an Avoidant Partner. And we're going to look at avoidant attachment, what avoidant attachment is, how this all interlinks with manifesting the love you want, all of that. And really the purpose of it is just to look at what's going on in your relationship dynamic through another lens. So I've talked about this before, but there's a lot of different ways for us to look at what's happening in our realities. So my primary way, and it's always what I go back to, it's always my foundation, but the primary way I look at what's happening in my reality is through the lens of manifesting. But there's also a masculine, feminine energy dynamic lens to look through. There is psychology lenses and attachment styles, which we're going to do in this video. There is even law of attraction is a different lens. And what we find when we start exploring these different lenses to understand ourselves and understand our relationships is actually they all complement each other. Like essentially, they're all kind of saying the same thing and they're saying it in a little bit of a different way. And yeah, I think that there's benefit in us just exploring what's going on in our realities through these different lenses so that we can better understand ourselves. Because when we really understand ourselves and our patterns and the way we respond in relationships and the way we are being in relationships, when we really get that, then we have the power to change it. So what do you do if your partner is avoidant or your specific person is avoidant? What is avoidance and how do you shift this? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Before I jump in, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel in the corner or below. Also know that I offer lots of self-study manifesting courses. All of my courses are linked below. There are 13 courses down there. I can help you manifest anything you want. And the last thing I'll say is I do a weekly giveaway for a bundle of 3 ebooks that I wrote. The way to enter into the contest is to subscribe to my channel, to like this video, and to comment below. I give 3 ebooks to 3 people every week. Okay, let's jump into this. So we are going to be looking at attachment styles, and I think I'm going to do 2 videos. In this video, we're going to be looking at avoidant attachment and how it relates to you. If you feel like your specific person or your partner is avoidant, what's going on? What's the psychological understanding of this? And how does this relate to also manifesting? So we're going to look at that. And then we're also going to look at, in my next video, a little deeper into anxious attachment. Now, I think it's very likely, and from what I see in my comments and the people I talk to, what's likely, if we want to, okay, I just want to have a disclaimer also. I am going to be using these kind of labels, avoidant attachment and anxious attachment. We're even going to talk about secure attachment. Now, I am just for this video and just through a psychology lens, we are going to be talking about these attachment styles. What is always true is you get to claim who you are and you get to choose who you are, okay, no matter what. So I'm not putting you in a box or a label and saying that this is who you are and who you have to be. But the point and the reason I think it's valuable for me to make this video is, again, when we start to understand our own patterns in relationships in particular, when we start to understand that we do get anxious when we feel like someone's going to leave, and we do have a tendency to feel like we are going to be abandoned. We do have a pattern where we're getting rejected. When we start to take a closer look, this is called actually becoming conscious. Like when you start to take a closer, deeper look about what's going on in your life and in your relationships, and you start to see patterns, language like what I'm going to use in this video, avoidant attachment and anxious attachment, can be really helpful for us to understand how we have responded in relationships up until this point in our life. Now, even if you have had a particular attachment style up until this point in your life, you can always change it. And in fact, it's easier to change when you know it's there. This is why people go to therapy. This is why people hire coaches like me, to become aware of your own patterns, because when you're aware of them and you're not unconsciously enacting patterns, but you're aware of your patterns, you can then make new choices. So I'm going to be speaking in language that I don't typically speak in, and I'm going to be saying some people are avoidantly attached and some people are anxiously attached, but my disclaimer that I just gave is like, you are always going to choose who you are. You do not have to identify with anxiously attached. And in fact, it's going to be much better for you when you stop identifying with that, but that also means breaking the patterns of it. Okay, so what is avoidantly attached? What is this attachment style? This is an attachment style where a person, well, there's a couple things. They tend to feel engulfed in relationships. What that means is they tend to feel, they get anxious when you're too close. They get anxious when there's like too much energy coming towards them. They get anxious when they start to feel trapped. This is the classic avoidant attachment style. And when they start to feel trapped or engulfed or encroached upon, or like their freedom is being taken away, when the avoidant attachment style starts to feel these things, their tendency, their coping mechanism, it's their wound enactment, starts to distance out of relationship. Now, from all the people I talk to on my channel, in the comments and clients, I would say that a lot of people, their specific person is more of the avoidant type. Again, this is the type that distances out of relationships. Their coping mechanism is to go away, right? Now, the anxiously attached person, which I am a recovered anxiously attached person. So I know this attachment style very well. I don't enact a lot of anxious attachment stuff anymore, but I have very much in my past. And again, from my observations on my channel, a lot of people who are actively manifesting their specific person, they are more likely in the position of the anxiously attached. Now, again, I'm not putting that label on you. We're just looking at this dynamic so we can understand it better. The anxiously attached person is the person who fears being left, who fears love is going to go away, who fears they're going to be distanced from. So the avoidant attachment fears that there's too much love, there's too much, it's like it's overwhelming to them, it's too much connection, and the anxiously attached feels like there's not enough love, there isn't going to be enough love, it's going to go away. So these two types of people, the avoidant and the anxiously attached people, tend to partner up and get into relationship. They make a perfect couple. And, I laugh about that, but it's like the reason this happens is because they enact each other's wounds with each other, right? So the avoidant person's wounds come up in the relationship. They start to feel trapped in the relationship. They start to feel like there's not enough space. They start to distance. The anxious person feels them distancing and goes and gives them less space, starts chasing after them. And then it's a disaster, as we all know. This doesn't work very well. So through a psychological perspective, what are some things that you can understand about the avoidant person, how to cope with being partnered with someone who's avoidant? And I'm also going to talk, of course, about manifesting, because that is always my go-to. But through this psychology perspective, the avoidant person, some things to just understand. This will help you understand them a little more if you want to perceive them through this lens for a moment in time or whatever. When an avoidant person is distancing, like think about for yourself, when someone distances from you and the anxiety that brings up for you, that's the same anxiety that they have when someone doesn't give them space. Okay, so it's two sides of the same coin. When an avoidant person doesn't feel like they have space, they start to feel anxiety and feel panicked, just the way you probably feel when someone distances from you. It's the same thing. Okay, so the avoidant person, their wounding tends to be around engulfment, encroachment. It means that they get smothered by love. They don't have enough space. So if you've been partnered to someone who is avoidant, you will notice that they want to take more space. Now, what can you do in this situation? This goes very much in alignment with manifesting, and essentially it's you don't go after them. You don't let your fear take over and go after them and encroach upon them, because that's actually the very thing that's making them distance in the first place. What you want to do is become more secure in yourself. Recognize, okay, they're just enacting their wound. That's one way to perceive it. The other way to perceive it, which is more of a manifesting perspective, but it's still true for psychology, they're also enacting your greatest fear by distancing. Your greatest fear, if you are more anxiously attached, is that love is going to go away. Love is going to distance. Love is going to leave. So your greatest fear is being enacted by this avoidant partner. It's a perfect setup. So the more that you can see that this is what's happening when these wounds get enacted in relationship or when they come up, the more you can see, okay, they're distancing because they're feeling anxious, they're feeling encroached upon, they're feeling stifled, whatever they're feeling. They're enacting their wound. The best thing I can do to cope with them while they're enacting their wound is be with myself and not enact my own wounds. Your own wounds, again, as probably I'm speaking to people because I think majority of people watching my videos would be more in the anxiously attached category. Your wounds, again, are going to be the ones where you're scared that love is going to leave. You're scared it's going to go away. It's okay that you feel that. But anytime that wound comes up and it's starting to enact with your specific person, because again, it's a perfect setup, your thing to do is to soothe yourself and remind yourself that love isn't going to leave you. Love is not going to leave you. For the anxiously attached person, that's kind of the biggest fear. Love is going to leave me. Avoidantly attached person, the fear is kind of, love's going to take me over. Love's going to eat me up and have all of me and take me over. That's more their fear. Okay, it's two different fears, but it's two sides of the same coin. So the best way to cope with an avoidant partner is to not chase after them. So I'll link my chasing video up there. I talk a lot about chasing. There's so many reasons, again, so many lenses we can look through to see why chasing is really never going to get you the love and relationship that you want. And again, through this lens, it is true as well. If someone's prone to distancing because of their own wounding, the last thing we want to do is chase after them. We want to stabilize in ourselves. We want to know love is never going to leave us. And the more you're able to self-soothe through any wound that you have that comes up, this goes for an avoidant person or an anxious person, the more we learn to soothe ourselves when our wounds come up, because it's a very natural thing for wounds to come up in relationships. I mean, I'm talking about, this is like advanced relational mastery that I'm teaching you guys, because it's okay, like wounds do come up. And I'm not one to ignore and pretend like they don't. I'm not one to affirm on top of it. I'm one to actually change the core belief system where you realize that you're always going to be okay. And as we change our core belief system within, I'm going to be okay. Love is never going to leave me. Or for the avoidant, I'm going to be okay. Love is not going to take me over. I'm still going to be free. I'm still going to be fine. When we change our own inner knowing of ourselves, then we create a secure inner state that's consistent, and then we manifest the reality out there of a consistent, loving, steady experience in relationships. So it's always going to come back to you. It's always going to come back to your own inner state. It's okay that these things happen. It's okay that someone distances and they're avoidant, and it's okay if you sometimes feel anxious and feel like love's going to leave you. All of that is okay. The answer is always going to be the same though. I will never stray from the answer. The answer is always going to be finding your own inner security, your inner stabilization within, your connection to your God self, your connection to your own amazingness as a person. That's always going to be your answer to any of this. So this is my deep dive into avoidant attachment. I am going to do one more video talking a little bit more about anxious attachment since, again, I think it's really predominant. I am a recovered anxiously attached person, so I will do that video next, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for being here. Bye.